Hey there, beautiful people, and happy Thankful Thursday. Thank you for joining me again as we go into day 5 of reading my newest release, Spilling the Tea, which is a guide to leaning in on your life, removing the pain, and living free. Hey, how are you? Thank you for joining. Some of you are just amazing with your support. Not only have you followed me on these live readings, but you have left comments. Some of you have contacted me in my messenger to tell me how much it has helped just listening to some of this so you don't feel alone. And I'm glad that it's helping. That's what it's for. So I want to go back and read a review from the ones that I had chosen because not all people heard all of the readings. So I'm just going to kind of go back. This reading was from somebody in Florida, and not the reading, sorry, the review. We are actually going to go into chapter 3 today, and going in is what it's called. And so we're getting closer and closer to actually talking about the technique of tea therapy, which is a 5-step process into releasing some things that have been with you all the years of your life, and how to be your best self after removing all of that. So I'm going to read one of the reviews of a client that I have had. And he says, I came to Lady Boulding due to several issues I was having. I couldn't sleep without medication. My self-respect was at an all-time low. I couldn't celebrate my success, and my overall demeanor was horrible. And I knew I needed to make change if anything was going to change for me. So I reached out. I thought tea therapy was a waste of time at first. I didn't take it too seriously. I felt stupid writing out what was in my head, and quite frankly, I was a bit nervous about what would come out. However, I did the process as instructed, fought through the tough times of disbelief and fear as I uncovered certain things that I hadn't touched on before, but clearly were in my head. After the process, expecting immediate results, I was disappointed. It didn't take long for that disappointment to become one of those aha moments. I remember sitting back and thinking about something I was doing at the time, and I realized that I would have reacted a lot differently prior to having tea therapy. It worked. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't weary of how it was going to turn out. I wasn't concerned at all and instinctively knew what I needed to do next. That was a glorious day. The best part of Lady Boulding, and what made her the perfect person to help me, is the fact that everything she does, her motivation, experience, discipline, hard work, everything is derived from love. That's the foundation. Everyone is wonderful and strong and capable and deserving. And her goal is to get every one of us to see ourselves through her eyes. When we eventually do, we become out strong, deserving, and amazing. We become all of that and believe it, which is what makes the world a better place. Since working with Lady Boulding, my life has changed 100%. Financially, I turned a corner while working with her, increased my business revenue by 30%, putting me back on track of smashing my goals. Emotionally, I am in tune with my inner Jim and understand what triggers the bad thoughts or what makes me smile, leaving me in complete control of my emotions and allowing me to grow with each new experience. Not to mention, I can use the tea therapy whenever a situation comes up and requires that kind of attention. I now have the tools to combat what comes at me without allowing the baggage in. Oh, and for the first time in 10 years, I can sleep without medication. I have not had a sleeping pill in over 15 months. I am very happy to shout out for the whole world to hear that not only can I use tea therapy for anything in the future, but that I absolutely will. One tea therapy session got rid of 40 years of baggage. Been there, did that. I had been carrying this. I had been carrying this new tool I carry is a shining light leading me towards the future, knowing I got this. I'm going to check on Lady Boulding too for refresher courses, maybe even get her on the payroll somehow. She is the real deal. Thank you for that. I too can relate how when the time was that I did tea therapy, I had been sitting with so much for so long. And the deeper we bury it, we are further from the truth of it. And so we go on handling life with the feeling of the experience of these things that are happening, not knowing we're shortcutting our life experience by leaps and bounds, and that we're not truly living out our true selves. And so it sucks because we're living life halfway instead of fully living our life. Okay, so we are in chapter 3, going in. I love these little teacups. And thank you to all those who are posting on my page. My book that is coming into you. I really appreciate the support. Going in, it's not a quick fix. I will get a call every now and then from a potential client, and they're like a hot potato. Something has ticked them off and they want help right now. I mean, they want to start today. In that very minute, they are ready. The sad part, generally, these individuals never become clients because they want to fix it now, answer to their current situation, and they're not wanting to do the work. Sad, but true. There was a lady who had been beaten by her spouse for many years and wanted to leave. She messaged and asked to become one of my clients. I asked her a few questions about why she feels ready for help after a short, I asked her why she felt ready for help. And after a short conversation, she decided she really didn't want help or change. Later to find out, she continued to find abuse in her life to feed the need of acceptance, which to her was felt and assured by abuse. She had so much of her life infused with abuse that it felt like home. The thought of leaving that situation and trusting a life she never knew was far too great of a risk for her. She had created what we call a comfort zone. Don't be fooled. Not all comfort is good or healthy. It simply means I have come to know the situation. I will stay in the situation because it feels safer than the unknown. I pray for her and those in that situation, believing that they will find the courage to walk away and heal. Walking away is usually temporary if you don't heal. This is why for many in this situation, they see repeated toxic partnerships, relationships, and situationships in their life. What isn't healed and completed will be repeated. Write that down. You might need that. You may need to refer to that one day. For some, it is easy to see the abuse as it is happening to them. For others, it's more of a silent and slow turning destructive process. There are people who are victims of what looks like a more socially acceptable form of self-destruction, such as overworking, self-isolation, self-hatred, self-medicating, legal drug addiction, all just to avoid their life. Many may wonder why a person stays with an abusive partner, because they see it as a stupid thing to do and look at the victim as one who doesn't love themselves. But yet those same assumptions are never thought about a man or woman that overeats to run away from their feelings. Look, abuse is abuse, even when you're the one doing it to yourself. It just seems unjust when another is doing it to us. Sometimes we are the worst at mentally abusing ourselves. We don't need anyone's help. That was a bit of a harsh truth, but we teach people how to treat us, and it starts with the way we treat ourselves. We are all the same, but different. Let that be the first thing to be understood. Audrey Hepburn said it best when she said, "Nothing is more important than empathy for another human being suffering. Not a career, not wealth, not intelligence, certainly not status. We have to feel for one another if we're going to survive with dignity." I'll add, you cannot know empathy for another if you don't first know it for yourself. Now, right now is the best time to start the change. Please don't feel that it's too late or that you're not worthy of a great life. Please don't feel you are only born to work, pay bills, and die. Ouch. You are worth it. You're truly worth more. Now let's start talking about tea therapy. I am proud of you. Self-work is the hardest, yet most rewarding work you'll ever journey into. You got this. You are always one choice away from changing your life. Mac Anderson. That's all I'll read for today. This chapter is a little bit longer than the other ones. I know it was a hard pill to swallow when somebody hears me use the word abuse as in a physical sense and abuse with like food abuse as far as like overeating or drinking or this and that. I'm not comparing the feel of it, or what I am doing here is showing you that abuse shows up in different ways in different people. And it's usually acceptable for the one abusing ourselves, but it's not acceptable if it's somebody outside of us doing it to us. And I want to tell you, abuse is abuse. I know a lot of you may look at me and you're like, wow, I know it's easy for you to say, and some of you may not know my life story. And it would make this recording way too long if I chose to add it to what we've already talked about. But I want to give you one experience that I had in life. You see, because I came from where I came from, an emotionally distraught, abuseful childhood, sprinkled with love and light, because I will tell you, I had good times too. I don't want you to think that I never had a great moment in my life. That's not what I'm saying, but I endured way more than any human should ever endure, from sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, from childhood on up, brokenness. So what happened was my life had to keep recreating that story for me, because it was the vibration I was holding without knowing it, because I wasn't healed. I was still vibrating at the frequency of all I had endured. So what happened to me in my young adult life is, in order to keep up with that reality that was happening in my life, and I was holding on to that, I had to go keep recreating those experiences. So I was in a relationship with someone who drugged me down flights of stairs by my hair, who beat me to a point where I couldn't even recognize the left side of my face, and then threw me in a closet for days. Why would anyone let somebody do this to them is what we think. Or how could you get with somebody like this? Or, I mean, the questions go on and on. But let me tell you something. When you're broken and you still have that frequency of broken, you have that vibration of surviving, you have to keep finding ways to survive. And so you attract situations that confirm and affirm what's going on the inside of you. And I know that's probably a recording that's too deep for right now. But what I'm saying is, while that abuse was going on, and I remember looking in that mirror, and I didn't recognize my face. I did not recognize it. I still cannot blink out of this eye because there was some damage that was there. But I didn't recognize my face. And to look at me now and how far I've come, it's not because that person that was abusing me is, oh, like they're a bad person. Were they good for what they did? No. Was what they did to me a good thing? No. But they too had such a brokenness that felt like an acceptable move. That felt like what I did was okay, that what he did was an okay response to how he felt. Like attracts like. Broken will get more broken. You will bleed on people that didn't hurt you if you don't heal yourself. And if you don't heal yourself, you may not see the bleeding that's happening on you. It's easy to look at parts of our life and say that happened because if I would have did this, this would have happened differently. To go back and change my story would be foolish, because who I am today is no longer on the same level of that person. So for me to look at it, of course, I could see where I could have changed or I could have did things differently. Stop doing that to yourself. You're here now. You've been given gifts. You are blessed. You are loved. Your life matters. But you can't even see that if you're still holding on to things that have been your identity for years and decades. It becomes comfortable, like I talk about in this book. Comfort zones and comfort feeling can be good or bad. They're just what we're used to. So be careful allowing what you've gotten comfortable with and what you're used to. Be careful and not seeing what it really is. Awareness is power. When I tell you I look at myself through the eyes of love now, it has no choice but to come from the core of who I am. It didn't matter if I was yearning for love all those years. It didn't mean I wasn't deserving of love. But how could I know love if I myself wasn't able to be love? I had no clue what that was. Some of you, your suffering is coming from the fact of you remembering everything that you've been through based on your experiences and not in you walking forward in your life and the value of who you truly are. God is love. One of my favorite Bible verses is Proverbs 4:23. Guard your heart above all things, guard your heart, because all you do flows from it. Probably different NIV versions and whatever versions, but I never realized how deep and how real that scripture is. What you feel about you is going to pour out in everything you do. Heal, my friends. Make sure that you tell yourself at least 2 times a day, I can. I will. And I'm so worth it. Yes, you are. And remember, awareness is power. Thank you. Join me tomorrow for tomorrow's live read. Thank you for being here.